My name is Mark Wallbank. I run Haunted Auckland. We are a paranormal research team. Let's just get this going. We run a paranormal research team here in Auckland, but we travel the whole country. We also do research overseas when we can afford to travel. I also do a lot of independent research as well. So I out by myself doing my own personal research, as well as joining up with other teams around the world and locally as well to do my own personal research with them. I've put out 3 books. The first couple of books here, Voices in the Walls and The Talking to Shadows, was a collection of my own thoughts and opinions alongside the rest of the team members. It's our investigation reports, as well as articles and thoughts and opinions from other researchers that we are friends with around New Zealand as well as Australia. So it was a real sort of collection of works, really, compiled into 2 books. And we're at the moment we're working on number 3 at the moment. There's a lot of material out there, a lot of research, and a lot of people doing this. So we've got no shortage of material really to put out into the book. Haunted New Zealand Roadtrip was one that I did myself. It was basically, we got the interest of a publisher who loved the first 2 books and wanted to do something special for themselves. So we put out Haunted New Zealand Roadtrip, which was basically my travels around the country by myself, with my wife, or with the team. And so we took a lot of the investigation reports and we adapted them, and a lot of my own personal journals and descriptions and thoughts about each trip and each location as I traveled around the country. So it was a good, fun book to put together. I met a lot of people, heard a lot of localized stories from the various small towns around the country. And it was a great one. I'm hoping to do a volume 2. We've been writing furiously, and there are no shortage of stories. Everywhere you go, every location you go to, you'll hear more stories about more locations in that town. So a lot of the stories we do here are localized in the small little rural towns around the country. So it's a beautiful field. You get to meet a lot of people and hear a lot of amazing stories. And everybody has a story. I'm sure every single one of you knows somebody, or has had an experience yourself, or knows somebody that's had an experience and can relate to this. There are stories everywhere. So yeah, Haunted Auckland is my team. We started back in 2010. I started forming the band, the team, around 2009, but we didn't officially start until about 2010. And we've gone through a few changes through the years. People have come, people have gone, and it's you meet new people as people lose interest, or people find out how much work is really involved. It's a lot of work, and it does take you away from your families, a lot of late nights. And so a lot of people don't really understand or appreciate the amount of work or the level of dedication or commitment is required in this field. Those are some various shots of the team at the moment. This is the team lineup that we have. A few fun shots. As you can see, we have a great time. We travel around the country with a bit of a laugh. It's not all serious research. So we've had some great times. I have a team member here, Sam Collier. He's one of my team members here. That's him there. And so yeah, at the end of this, if instead of all just coming and asking me questions or talking to me, you can also ask Sam as well. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and I'm sure we can answer some of your questions afterwards. So that's us in a nutshell, really. We work alongside many historical communities, locations and societies around the country, as well as overseas. We're quite well known in historical circles around the country. With every location that we investigate, they pass that information on to other locations, and word gets around. And so we have quite a good reputation around New Zealand with our research. We're very respectable, very respectful, very responsible, and we try to be as professional as we can in our manner and our approach. So we have a website as well, which is called Paranormal NZ. Paranormal New Zealand is basically the home or the hub for Haunted Auckland, and it covers all our research, all our historical findings, all the locations we've been to, and just all our articles that we've written, not only by us, but by affiliates from around the country, around the world as well. We keep everybody up to date. So do keep in touch with our website. Just a couple of pages there. There's Voices in the Walls, one of my first book, that one there. I started off as a kid, as we all do. At age about 5, I started field research, and field research is basically going out to the locations, going out to the locations, spending time in them, documenting them as best you can, and just sort of recording everything, documenting. That's field research, just going to the locations out in the field. So I started this back in 1984, around about. I got a few friends together. There was about 3 of us, and we had our first little team. And we're just teenagers, and we had like a little camera, one of those little snappy cameras with a cube flash that you can get 4 flashes from each lot with each cube. So it was quite expensive back then, and you came back with only about 24 photos. These days we can do an investigation and come back with about 2,000 photos. So we were called the Auckland Ghost Hunting Group, and we were quite localized. We came from Pakuranga. If anybody knows the area, about 30 years ago or so, it was all just farmland, lots of paddocks and all that. My parents had the first house up on the hill there, and it was, all around us was just farmland, and it was very rural. Now it's all built up. But there used to be, amongst all those paddocks and bushland, there would be burnt out farmhouses and old barns and old factories that had just burnt to the ground, and we would just go exploring those. So that was our first sort of experience of being ghost hunters, I guess. It was a long time ago, and we were very naive. And but yeah, we went out there and we tried to document what we could, how we could. And that was us. Little back history about myself. In the beginning, as I said, I started off very, very early age. Before I could even read, really, I was looking at pictures and comics, and I loved everything a little bit out of the norm, everything a little bit unusual. I was very interested in things like UFOs and aliens, Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, that kind of thing, ghosts, anything that was a little bit different and unusual and unexplained. That's where I sort of levitated to. Then as I started to be able to read, my first reading experiences were through comics and reading horror comics about ghosts and all that sort of thing. So as I learned to read, I started to pick up local books, just little small paperbacks in the kids section. And they were mostly picture books, but they had words in them and I could read, and I would be writing stuff down and copying things out of books into my little pad. That was my research back then at age 5. Then I went to an op shop, a little secondhand antique shop, and I picked up an old book, and it was my first adult book about the paranormal, and it was written by Harry Price, who was a UK-based, very pioneering old paranormal researcher. He did a lot of great work back in the day, and I found this book, and it was called Confessions of a Ghost Hunter, and it was the title that stood out to me, so I grabbed that book, and it was very it inspired me. It inspired me, and it basically inspired me to carry on doing what I do, because until then I didn't really know that ghost hunters or paranormal researchers existed. I didn't know that people actually went out and researched these things. I grew up watching cartoons and comics and that sort of thing, and I didn't realize it went any further than that. I would get into Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was my first experience, the Scooby-Doo cartoons. And so I watched a lot of cartoons, and I still didn't realize that that was actually a reality in some way. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if people did actually go out and research and search for these things? It wasn't until Ghostbusters came out that there's a scene in the Ghostbusters near the beginning where they're actually in the library. They're in the big library there, and they've got gadgets. And they've got their little PKE meter, and they're walking around and it's flashing because there's something there with them. I saw that moment there where they're actually in the library researching with gadgets, trying to find answers. And I thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That's it. And it didn't ever occur to me that people had gadgets and actually thought about it in a scientific manner. And we're actually going out and doing this. Excuse me. So that got me excited. Another scene straight after that got me even more excited is when the ghost appeared and they all run from that building screaming, and they're all running down the stairs of that big library building, screaming. The look of fear on Dan Aykroyd's face, that got me excited. That's what I wanted to experience. I wanted to get out there and I wanted to experience ghosts, and I wanted to feel that fear. I wanted to experience that for myself. I'm 54 now, and been doing it since age 5, and I still haven't run from a building with that sense of fear yet. I'm still waiting, but I live in hope. These days, I'm a member of quite a few different associations around the world, mostly the UK, but also the States and a couple in Australia. Various different ghost research, paranormal research-based associations. A lot of them are very scientific based, which is nice. I like to think of myself as not so much as I'm a skeptic, but I'm not so much. I'm also a believer, and I don't like the word believer, but I sort of straddle both sides really. Somewhere in the middle. I've been doing this long enough to now know that there is something to this, and that it's not really a belief. It's not really. I'm not skeptical. I'm skeptical about certain cases, but I'm not skeptical about ghosts anymore. There was a point in my life where if anybody asks me, do ghosts exist? I would say, well, I don't know. I really don't know. Now, after what I've experienced in my time, I can confidently say that yes, ghosts do exist. They do exist, but I don't know what they are, and I don't know anything about them. But we've encountered, throughout the team, we've encountered things that other people have made claims of encountering as well. So we've experienced things that other people have experienced when they're making claims about seeing ghosts. So we've seen ghosts, but we don't know what they are. Whether it's something that's generated in our minds, something that's generated within the building itself, we don't know. We don't know anything about the background of these things. All we know is that they exist and people are experiencing them, and they have been experiencing them for thousands of years. It's well documented in everything from artwork, drawings, literature, just folklore, stories handed down through the generations. It's a worldwide phenomena. It's something that has been experienced by millions, but thousands of years. So it can't be dismissed. Science can't dismiss it. Things are happening. People are experiencing something. Now, as a paranormal research team, it's our job to go to these places and find out for ourselves, so we can pass on this information to people like yourselves or anybody else with an interest. So we aren't skeptical. We aren't believers. We're right in the middle there. Yes, we're very proud. We've done possibly, in the team, we've possibly done over 200 investigation sessions within just the team, just a decade or so that we've been together as a team. I've travelled over to the UK and Australia. I've done a lot of talks all over the world. Excuse me. These are some of the places in the UK. I'm going back to the UK in November to do a few more places. But as you can see, I've done some of the most haunted locations in the UK. Oftentimes it's just one night. You're just there, you just stay a night. So really, to get any evidence, to get the real feel of a building, you need to stay there more than one night. So admittedly, a lot of these are just one night. A few of them are about 2 or 3 nights, like Boleskine House in Scotland. I've done 4 sessions there. And I'm going back to the Ancient Ram Inn in about a month. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, we get around. Now, one disclaimer, a little disclaimer I want to put out here for you now is that I'm not going to stand here today and try and convince you that ghosts do or don't exist. That's not my job. Basically, I'm just going to put it out there. This is what we've seen, experienced. This is what we know. And it's up to you to do a bit of research and find out if there's anything valid about what I'm saying. And yes, I'm not going to try and convince anybody either way. I'm not going to judge anybody. Yeah. Think for yourself. That's what it's all about. That's how we do it. Make up your own mind. There are 4 main types of people that get into this paranormal field. It's becoming more and more obvious with social media now and all that. There are people like us that are wanting answers, first-hand experience. We want to document. We want to have our own little interactions. We want to have our own experiences. There are people into it just for fame and money. Thrills and entertainment. I mean, these are all okay. I mean, if you want to do it for fame and money, that's fine. Thrills and entertainment's fine. A lot of people just want to be spooked and have a scary experience. Some people want closure. It's more of an emotional thing for them. So those are the four main people that have an interest in the paranormal. I'm sure there are others around that, but we're the first one, but we've met the other ones as well. If you have any questions, just shout them out. It's totally fine with me. This is what I am. I'm a researcher, investigator, and observer. That's what I class myself as. I don't class myself as a Ghostbuster or anything like that. I travel that often spooky road between skeptic and believer. And we go wherever the research leads. This is our little motto here: exploration, observation, experimentation, documentation, ultimately leading to interaction, understanding, and conclusion. That's our big hope. That's our goal there. Understanding, interaction, and conclusion. That's what we're looking for. Those are the final outcome. And we're all about keeping it real. We don't make up stories. We don't fake. We keep it real. And I think it's very important in this field to be honest. This is what I'm not. I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm not a Ghostbuster. I'm not an exorcist. This is what people say to me when I tell them I'm a paranormal researcher. They say, "Where's the facts?" They say, "Where's the facts?" Well, there aren't a lot of facts. Well, there are a few facts, but they're not so obvious. Let's just strip it back to the basics for now. Paranormal. What does paranormal mean? Para is Greek meaning outside, above, or beyond. So para is anything above, beyond normal understanding, or what science accepts as being, it's just anything outside of the norm, pretty much. And that covers everything from ghosts and hauntings, UFOs, crypto-zoology, which is the study of unknown animals like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and all those fun creatures. Demonology, psychic phenomena, and there's many more. There's ESP and sort of mind, all the various mind topics as well. So anything that's just a little bit unexplained, unverified, that needs more study, needs more proof, but exists. It's certainly no new thing. The paranormal has transcended many different genres, from art, belief, tradition, literature, popular culture. It's everywhere. Ghosts are everywhere. UFOs and aliens are everywhere. Monsters are everywhere. The Yokai Parade, it's all about spiritual monsters, folklore, and that sort of thing. It's all there. It's everywhere. So the paranormal is in your face daily, pretty much. I don't know what that's about. So yeah, ghosts and hauntings have been documented thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, in all parts of the world. Various artworks of ghosts and spirits through history. There are stories of ghosts that transcend so many generations and so many parts of the world, even areas of the world that aren't exposed to Western civilization, that aren't exposed to television, movies, books, social media, like the internet. There's none of that in some of these areas, yet they still have documented stories of ghosts. So ghosts are everywhere. Ghosts are seen all over the country in the most isolated areas. And a lot of the ghost stories that we're hearing come from very prominent people, intelligent people that have nothing to gain by making up stories. And so people take this seriously. And so the stories are genuine. So as you can see, ghosts aren't a new thing. It's not a fad. The word paranormal itself, the term paranormal started about 1920, somewhere between 1920 to 1925. It was first coined, but nobody knows where it came from. It just started somewhere in someone's literature somewhere, but nobody can pinpoint when the word paranormal was first used. But 1920, 25, somewhere around there. So the term itself is quite vague. William Mumler was quite famous in his spirit photography. He made a living by using photo manipulation to put in images of deceased ones with the living, and he would create portraits back in the 1800s. So it was an art form back in the 1800s there. Also, Helen Stewart and Hannah Green were also very prominent there with their spirit photography. This is some of their works. A lot of it used sort of overexposures and all that sort of thing, and materials coming out of mouths to create ectoplasm and various different spooky effects. But the finished effect it's quite stunning. It's an art form. It's quite beautiful, really, in a very dark way. So as you can see, it's been going a long time. Pop culture. Who remembers Scooby-Doo? It started off in children's television back in the 70s. Casper. Who remembers Casper? As a kid, I'd be reading Casper, the Friendly Ghost Stories. The movie Ghost. Very popular movie. Who can remember this one? Yeah. New Zealand made, Peter Jackson, The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. Full of ghosts. This one here, Beetlejuice. Full of ghosts. It's all about ghosts. So ghosts are everywhere. This one, very popular, The Sixth Sense. And this one, Poltergeist, one of my favorites. And this one, of course, Ghostbusters. So it's been around a very, very long time. The only difference these days is that the paranormal researchers are actually out there researching. We're actually trying to find evidence and we're trying to document. Back in those days, in the 1800s, 1900s, and all that, ghosts, which is pretty much a given. They existed, they were just accepted. That's just the way it was. Nobody actually researched them. They were just documented and turned into paintings, stories, poetry, plays, that kind of thing. But nobody actually did any research on them. So today's paranormal is about research, trying to put a bit of science into it, using the scientific method and presenting evidence where we can. So how much do we really know about the paranormal? I like to use this picture here as my little guide for how much we know about the paranormal. Tip of the iceberg, what's below it, all that. What we know about the paranormal and ghosts is just so tiny. It's very minuscule. We don't know much about it all. There's not a lot of evidence. People around the world are having experiences, but when it comes to facts and documenting and the actual nitty-gritty of all the details, we don't know much at all. What is paranormal research? Okay, basically it's a very tricky one because there's not a lot to go on. It's mostly theories. It's all pretty much based on theory at this stage. Physical evidence is slim and occurrences are very rare. We've met people that would say, we see ghosts everywhere in our house. But the reality is they aren't. Occurrences are quite rare. And if you do see a ghost, a genuine full-bodied apparition, I've been doing this for well over 40-something years and I've never seen one. And I live in hope that I will see one. So that gives you an idea. I've spent all my life going to haunted locations and I'm still hoping to see a full-bodied apparition. So I think they are quite rare. I don't think people really are seeing actual ghosts as often as they say. It's definitely worth the effort, I can guarantee you. If you're interested in this, if you're interested in the field, definitely take it further. We use the scientific method wherever we can, as much as we can within our research. We like to think that science can help us with our research. So we set a little table of rules that we use within every research, and we try and follow them as best we can. And I think anybody that's doing this kind of research, if they're doing it right, they should be following this kind of list here. You start off with a purpose. Why are you going to this location? Because there's a story of a grey lady that's seen going down the stairs. Okay, that's your purpose. You're going to find out about this grey lady. Research. Do as much research as possible. That's what it's all about. Observe. We spend a lot of time just sitting in the dark in buildings, just listening to ourselves talking and just talking amongst ourselves and just recording everything. We have cameras positioned in all different areas and we just sit there in the dark, in the quiet. And it's quite therapeutic at the end of the week after a hard day, after a hard week at work. It's a nice way to spend a night. We document everything. We start off with a hypothesis, we experiment, we analyze everything, we try and break down everything as best we can. We look for reasons, we look for explanations, possible explanations where we can. We try and repeat or recreate where we can. Conclusions, and we share. We share with teams all over the world, and we say, hey, what do you think? Have you experienced anything like this? Have you got any explanations that we can use? And so we follow this list with pretty much every investigation. Very important. Document everything. We have multiple cameras everywhere, just filming. We film ourselves. We have cameras filming every room, every corridor, every stairwell. We have handheld cameras filming each individual person in the room, so we can film ourselves as well. It's we film every angle. Very important. Paranormal equipment. Who knows what these are? Proton packs and Ghostbusters. We don't use those. Reality check. Nobody knows what ghosts are made of. Until you find out what a ghost is made of, you can't create a gadget that'll detect, monitor, or capture a ghost because you don't know what it's made of. So there are a lot of gadgets out there in the field which are pretty much just toys. They have claims. They come with claims that they will interact with ghosts, that they can communicate with ghosts. If this was true, and you had a gadget that could communicate with ghosts or interact with ghosts or create ghosts, science would be wanting to know about it. You could make a lot of money. It would be groundbreaking. It would be totally earth-shattering, and it would answer some of the biggest questions this world has ever had if you could actually interact and communicate with ghosts. So there are a lot of gadgets that make claims, a lot of phone apps that you can download that make claims of speaking with ghosts. If it was true, the world would be a different place, a very different place, because we would actually be interacting. We would know a lot more about ghosts, and it would be a groundbreaking thing, believe me. It's all about trial and error, experimentation and observation. That's what we spend most of our time doing. Some of the equipment that we do use, everything from audio recorders, video recorders, atmospheric data monitoring gadgets. We want to try and document the environment that we're in to see if anything changes. If a ghost appears, does anything in the environment change? Could anything in the environment cause that? So we try and monitor and document every part, everything we can think of, every angle we can think of. But of course, with every investigation, different things happen, and we will come to one prepared to some activity that happened at the previous one, and something will happen somewhere else in the building. So yeah, it's very hard to sort of detect when things are going to happen. Use your brain. It's the most important part. It's the most important piece of equipment you could have. Show us the proof. That's another thing that people demand from us. They say, show us the proof that ghosts exist. Well, another disclaimer, ghosts don't perform on cue. To get evidence of ghosts is very difficult for many reasons. Genuine paranormal activity is very rare. Doesn't happen on cue, doesn't happen very often. You have to be at the right place at the right time with the right piece of information, the right equipment in your hand, aimed in the right direction to capture anything. It's just luck, pretty much. Most claims can have multiple possible explanations. Okay, this is fact. Something might happen to you, and initially you might think, wow, paranormal, ghosts, haunting. But what just occurred may have many different other explanations. And what we have to do, and what you should do as well, is try and rule out those first. Think about all the rational, logical explanations that could have caused that before you start thinking about paranormal. There's a lot of people get into a lot of stress, a lot of fear, and it's also unnecessary by jumping to conclusions. And it can cause a lot of trauma in people's lives if they jump to conclusions and just believe that everything is paranormal. It can be quite dangerous for your health, for your mental health. The majority of paranormal claims are often misidentifications, misinterpretations. Things aren't always what they seem initially. These are some of the things that can affect the paranormal activity that you think that you saw. Belief. If your belief is very strong, something that you believe in will affect what you think you saw. Dreams, mental illness can affect your experiences, hallucinations, lack of knowledge, by not knowing things, by not knowing simple camera photography basics, or knowing about light and your atmosphere and things around you that can cause effects, just by not knowing those things. And we all learn sometime, but just by not knowing them can cause you to believe that what you saw was something other than what it was. Power of suggestion is very strong. We've experimented with the power of suggestion quite a bit, actually, within our research, and it is very strong. I can actually make people feel like they're being touched. I can make people see things, hear things, just by putting the power of suggestion into their minds. It is very simple, and it is frighteningly powerful. Substances and medication, that's another common one that we've come across, that can make people believe that they're having an experience. People want us to show them the photo or video evidence. People want photos and videos to prove everything. We can't do that. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Carl Sagan, famous astronomer, scientist, astrobiologist, author, he coined this phrase many years ago: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And that's true. If you're going to make claims that this is a ghost, or there is a ghost here, or this house is haunted, then you have to come up with some sort of proof to back that statement up. And the position we're at, we get a lot of journalists, we have a lot of media coming, knocking on our door. They want quotes from us, they want comments. If we say that the Auckland City Library is haunted, they're going to say, well, how do you know? And we say, oh, well, we feel like it is. We have to have the evidence to back up that statement, or else we could be in a lot of trouble. We could get a lot of ridicule coming our way. Yeah, so we try not to make any public claims that we can't back up, which is why I always say allegedly haunted or reportedly haunted. I never say a place is definitely haunted, mainly because I don't have enough evidence to back up such a statement. Reasons that there is no solid evidence, at least within our research. Excuses. You weren't prepared. And this has happened to me personally a lot. You're in a location and you're setting up equipment, and something happens, you see it happening, you see a shadow walking across the wall, across the hallway, something happens and you're not prepared. You're not prepared to take a photo, any video. You're just not prepared. The wrong equipment for the moment. You have the wrong equipment in your hand. I could be holding an audio recorder in my hand and a shadow person will walk across there. I don't have the right equipment to record that incident. It was too quick. Sometimes it's just a flash. Sometimes they're very fast, a matter of just a few seconds. Maybe it wasn't really there. Maybe it was a hallucination. Maybe you did actually misinterpret something. Maybe there was no ghost there in the first place. Or this one here is one that I came up with. It was my own. I've experienced it myself. And it's one that I like to use because it's this old thing. It's happened a few times in the past where you'll be setting up some equipment, something will happen right in front of you. You'll see it moving, you'll look with both eyes, you'll see it. You'll see a shadow person or some sort of shadow, person-shaped shadow moving across, and you'll watch it glide and it'll just disappear. But you're sitting there with your mouth open, just and your eyes wide, just watching it go. And it's not until it's gone that you think, oh, I had a camera right here. I could have filmed it. But of course, it's too late. So it's that kind of entrance. You're entranced by what you're seeing. And it's the same with UFO sightings. People will be having they'll have their cell phones in their pockets or in their hand. A UFO will be flying around and they'll be too busy just watching it. And then they'll realize that they could have filmed it. It's important to use your mind. Think practically. Use common sense. Exhaust every other possibility before assuming paranormal. Never just assume. It's important. Now, some of the locations, I suppose you're very keen to hear about some of the locations that we've been to. We've traveled all over New Zealand, from the top to the bottom, and we've stayed in some of the most allegedly haunted New Zealand locations. Okay, some of the amazing stories that come from these locations. I might just get out my phone for this one. Excuse me for a sec. Okay, so some of the locations around the country that we've spent time in. Larnac Castle. This is down in Dunedin. We were down there a few months back, and we investigated the place a few years prior to that as well. So, interesting place. There's meant to be quite a few ghosts in this place. William Larnac himself and many other people have seen. The stories go way, way back, and there's been quite a few shadow people, footsteps, that kind of thing, glasses being thrown off counters, and all this. The Vulcan Hotel, that was an interesting one down the South Island in St. Bathans. Interesting one there. There's room 1. There's only about 3 rooms in the building. It's a pub with 3 rooms that you can rent, and I think room 1 is this one here. And that's resided by there's an old prostitute called Rose, who still resides in there apparently, and she has a hatred for men. She was mistreated, and now she has a hatred for men, and so she attacks men in their sleep. I stayed there one night with my wife, and we both had the most messed up dreams. Both of us, we just didn't really sleep. Our dreams were just crazy, messed up, just didn't make any sense, just very uncomfortable, just very weird experience. We weren't attacked or anything, but yeah. Globe Theatre is one we've been doing. That's down in Dunedin. We're going back, hopefully in the new year, to do some more research on that one. That was an interesting one. It's thought to have Frank Grayson, the old caretaker. He's thought to still reside there. He's been spotted quite a few times there through the years. He's seen, well, we think it's him. There's often an old man sitting in the front row during shows, and he'll sit there. He'll be spotted sitting there in a seat that doesn't have anybody allocated to be sitting in that seat, and at the end of the night he's gone. So he sort of comes and goes, and he was seen just the other night. I got a couple of messages about 2 days ago from the sound and lighting man, the tech guy there, who said that he saw the old man sitting there again. And he just sits there watching the show, and then just disappears. It's thought to be Frank. And then the Lockie House in Wellington, that's another good one. It's had lots of everything from footsteps to shadow people to even poltergeists. It's an art school. It's an art school now, and they had an incident with a clay sculpture it was a clay mask that was being made, and it was thrown off a table and smashed against the wall, so it's all been deformed. And it's so that sculpture now resides at the Dunedin Unnatural Museum in Dunedin, and it's on the wall there for everybody to see, and it's just basically it was thrown against the wall, so it's been something very physical happened there. Napier Prison is another fun one. A lot of spirits there, a lot of deaths, hangings, and all that. We've spent quite a few sessions at the Napier Prison. I've spent a solo night there myself. I had the whole prison to myself. Spent a night there. Interesting things happened. From shadow people, you could hear footsteps. You'll be there by yourself, and you can hear footsteps walking down the corridors. You can see shadows, like people walking around. It's an interesting place. When the place is just dead quiet, and there's nobody else there, the place comes alive. Waitomo Caves Hotel, that's another fun one. Now this place closed down when COVID started, during the first lockdowns. It basically lost a lot of business, ended up having to close down. And from what I hear, it's looking pretty run down at the moment. It's not open, it's looking very shabby, unloved. But there are a lot of stories about this, everything from a Maori princess that is seen on the driveway, the road that leads up to Larnac. And it's almost like she's seen standing there waiting for somebody. She's waiting for somebody to turn up. Up in this turret up here, it's the honeymoon suite. Ghosts are seen up there. Shadow people, various other things are seen. We had some interesting audio recordings come from it during our session there. Princess Gate Hotel in Rotorua, room 35, I believe. Room 35 has a ghost in there who likes to seduce single men. And I stayed in there by myself. Of course, I'm married. I think maybe she knew, but I'm married and I wore my ring, but we still had a little bit of activity. We had a key. It was the room key was on a coffee table, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, it moved off the table and then just fell onto the floor. We caught this on our video cameras. We had night shot video cameras filming the whole room. So it's just lucky we had those set up because it captured that happening. But of course, the skeptical side of us says, well, Rotorua is a very geothermal area, a lot of underground vibrations, rumbling. It's a very volcanic area. So possibly it was vibration that maybe moved it off the table and fell to the floor, but we don't know. But that was our explanation. That was was pretty much the only explanation, I think, wasn't it, Sam? I think it was the only explanation that we came up with that made kind of sense, but still didn't quite fit it because the speed that it sort of moved and then the sort of angle it fell didn't sort of seem right. But it was an interesting place. Auckland haunts, we've got a few favourites. We're lucky to have a very good reputation, very good working relationships with historical locations around Auckland. So we get unlimited access to many places. We get to sleep the night. We can sleep on the floor. We can do whatever we want. It's fantastic. It's very trusting, and it's very humbling. It's just fantastic to be able to get that kind of access to locations that you could just keep going back time and time again. And with a lot of these locations, it's like whatever's there becomes familiar with you. So the more times you keep coming back, it becomes familiar and it starts to play with you and it starts to come out to see you and perform even. Puhanui Homestead, which is situated in the Hawick Historical Village. One of our favourites. We've done a lot, I think about 20 different investigations in that within that land, the village. But Puhanui Homestead was one that stood out to us. We had quite a few things happening, from footsteps that were heard walking down the corridors. I went to the toilet and I had some footsteps coming down the hallway after me as I was going to urinate in the toilet, which was interesting. We had a torch. It was a flat-based torch, sort of like that, flat, and it was sitting on a chair and it got knocked off the chair, moved down a flight of stairs, then down another flight of stairs, and then slammed to the bottom of the stairs. So that was very physical, and we have a lot of that on camera as well. The story behind this one is that there is a grey lady. She's called the Grey Woman. She's often seen going up the stairwell, up the stairs, and she's often seen in the master bedroom as well. It's thought that this is possibly Sarita McLaughlin. We've had some interesting audio captures there and some interesting experiences. I think we did a spot of investigations where we had solo investigations where every team member got to spend a night by themselves in that building, and they had to document in their own way what happened. And I think everybody had something happen at some point, whether it be voices, footsteps, people being touched. So it's a very active place. Kingseat, another one of our favorites, huge building. It's a huge complex of buildings. It's quite a large piece of land. It's a psychiatric hospital. It closed down about a good 30 years ago. I think it shut down, ceased operation. Many different villas and buildings on the site. And we've spent a lot of time through the years spending the night. We stay the night there. We sleep on the floors and air mattresses. And yeah, that's a fascinating place with a lot of activity. Depending on which building you get, it could be everything from touchings to footsteps to voices to things moving. It's a very intriguing place. Pump House Theatre in Takapuna. It's another favourite of ours. It's a local. That's thought to have Peg Escott, or Margaret Escott. She was a poet, writer, actress, and she used to spend a lot of time at the Pump House doing her thing. So it's thought by many that she still resides there, and she's still doing her thing, keeping an eye on the place. There's also a caretaker, Michael Murphy, that's thought to still reside there as well. He passed away a few years ago, and a lot of the activity revolves around cleaning products that seem to move around the place. His cabinet that had all the cleaning products is usually open, and things are on the floor and things move around. So it's thought that maybe it's him still working. The Lake House Art Centre is another one of our local favourites that we spend a lot of time at. I think we've done about 20-something investigations there so far. We've spent the night many times there. We've had some interesting activity there from, again, footsteps, shadows seen by not only us, by other investigators that have joined us on the night. We've had some interesting interactions with these little pop lights that we use. They're just little trigger objects. You push the top and the light goes on and off. Something seems to be able to bypass that and make the lights go on and off and answer 2 questions and all that, which has been quite an interesting experiment. Yeah, so and through these trigger objects and other experiments that we use within our research, we've managed to come up with an idea that perhaps the ghost that is there is a little girl. And just through communication and talking and all that, we've managed to figure out a name. This is all allegedly because we don't know for a fact, but just going by what we've come up with and the interactions we've had, the size of the shadows are usually child size, short shadows. And this is seen by us as well as other researchers that have come in with us. So it's always short shadows. We've heard the running of footsteps, which sounds like a little child running around upstairs and downstairs. And the name we've come up with is Patty, or Patricia, but she likes to be called Patty, and she's 9 years old. So this is kind of information that we've come up with. Whether it's actual fact, we don't know, but it's all pointing towards those being something. So we go with what we've got. And if we are interacting with a child called Patty, and she's 9 years old, and she wants to interact with us, we're not going to say no. We'll let her interact with us if she wants to. So we keep going back, and we bring toys for her, and we talk to her, and we seem to have interactions with various equipment and gadgets when we ask questions. So again, we go with what we have, and we go in the direction that research leads us, just to see where it goes. So that's it.